Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. It's Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. Please bear with me. My voice is a little shot. I've been sick for the last few days, but we're going to have a great episode here and talk with my friend Dior, who is I would say Dior is one of the most influential content creators in the Parallel community. I got to know Dior actually because as one of like the most active moderators in the Parallel Discord. He was creating countless resources over the last year, many of which I used to learn about Parallel and all of the cards and the rarities and so on. So Dior now has his own YouTube where you can learn all about Parallel from him and probably other games in the future. We're going to talk a little bit today about the upcoming EP election. So there's the Emissary Primes that are going to be elected for the Echelon Prime Foundation. I'll let Dior sort of talk us through what that all means and what you need to know to get to know those candidates and vote for whoever you think is the best. And then I want to lean on some of the expertise he has that very few people do, which he can sort of talk us through what we know about the upcoming Parallel game, like what we can expect it to look like, some of the basics of playing the game, and then also we'll talk a little bit about some of the early reveals around card functions. So on that note, Dior, thanks for joining me. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. It's we were supposed to do this last week, but here we are this week doing it. So I'm glad we're able to get to it now
No,
finally.
it's funny because this is the first time actually we've talked live. We've I've learned so much from you, and I know many others in the community too can attest. Like there's so much work you did over the past year to help grow Parallel. So yeah, just going to be awesome here to kind of learn more from you about a number of topics that I am less familiar with, specifically around card functions.
hmm
Um, but why don't we get started with some of your background? Like, when did you get into crypto? What led you ultimately to Parallel? Because I know you have a background playing lots of trading card games. Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So for me, my complete initial intro to crypto as a whole was back in around 2015 with CS:GO. For those of you who ever played it and whatnot, like there's skins, like the skins that you would trade and you could sell them for, like, some people sell them for real cash and whatnot. And I noticed some people who were selling them for cash would sell them, let's say 80% like market price for cash and then 65% for Bitcoin. So you could get a better deal if you're using Bitcoin. I was like, like I've heard of this Bitcoin thing, but I didn't really look into it before. I looked into it, 2016, I bought like $100 worth. 2017, boom, made like $2,000 on that. That was happy. It was like me back in high school. So, it was a great time for me at the time. Since then, I mean, then I ended up buying like Cardano at 10 cents and it sold that for me 30 cents. That was fun. And then for me, the big thing was around, I'd say 2020. Um, I really got into kind of the NFT space, mostly through art, actually. There wasn't any like random, like big project necessarily, but just honestly, I don't even remember where it was specifically. It might have been through just randomly seeing crypto kitties. It might have been through something about hash masks. I don't even remember, honestly, but um, it just took me down this rabbit hole. I literally just spent a whole night, literally just to like 4 a.m., just like looking through everything in the space and whatnot. And I got to like art stuff. So I looked at like Super Rare. I looked at Maker's Place and these other art platforms. And then eventually, uh, come around near the end of February, I was in, I think it was the Maker's Place Discord, and there was an account. It was named Parallel. They were just talking, just sent a message about some card game project that they were making, and I was like, like let me. I'm a really big card game fan, like, and I was learning about NFTs for the past couple months, and I was like, let me check this out. So I talked to, and at the time that was Kalos, who was on that account at the time, and I
How
DM'd
long
him.
ago was that again?
That
When did
was
you first run across this?
yeah, that was a year ago in February. So this is before basically there was a Discord,
Wow.
before there was really a Twitter. Really, there was no like public image, I don't think, at the time. so it was just a fated encounter, you could really say. But I talked to him, I showed my interest and whatnot, and he was like, yeah, like we're going to be setting like a Twitter and a Discord and whatnot. And we're thinking of this pre-sale, eventually in March. I was like, okay, cool, cool, cool. Like, I'm really interested. Be sure to check it out. And eventually joined Discord and whatnot. And there was, for the first couple weeks and whatnot, there was, for example, there was like, I don't know if people remember earlier in 2021, right? 2021. There's a lot of clubhouses that were happening, right? People were using Clubhouse a lot, I feel, around that
You're
time.
right. I've forgotten about the Clubhouse era. It
Yeah.
feels like few people use them now, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that we did there was like a one or two clubhouses with the team that we did. And at the time, it was really only a couple of them. It was really just like Kalos, Mr. Gon, and like maybe, one or two guys on the art team,
Wow.
maybe with the lore writers. And it was like me, Meta, CL, Goldie. There's really like 8 of us in this call. That's it. Like that was it.
Oh,
And
wow.
they were
Oh,
just
that's
talking
quite a
about,
group.
yeah,
I love this. Yeah.
yeah, Kalos was just ripping, just like going off the riff, just explaining everything. He was answering whatever questions and stuff. And it's really cool because I have like old messages with him about like certain ideas that he had that completely they scratched completely. Like one thing was, and I haven't shared this in here, but there's supposed to be like a rarity called like lore rarity. That was like one of like the really old ideas, and that never got to fruition at any point. But there's like a lot of I have the old alpha scoop just sitting in my DMs, just sitting there, which I find really fun to kind of look at
Something
sometimes.
I never asked you about is what were you working full time anywhere at the time, or like what when you discover all of this and you start to learn about Parallel, which I'm now realizing it was like you and like a dozen people, aside from like the core contributors.
Hmm.
But yeah, what were you doing at the time?
Yeah, so for me, right now, I mean, I'm still in college, and at the time, I was still in college, and the thing that
Thank
it's
God. So you are in college.
yeah.
I'm like, dude, what are you eating and drinking to like look so young? That's great. Dude, I love this. Okay, so you're in college. What year of college are you in?
So for me, I actually should have graduated this year. Like I'm 21 right now. I was supposed to graduate this year, but I ended up having like transfer schools and whatnot, and due to a bunch of COVID shit, like I ended up losing like almost more than a year's worth of credit because of transferring and whatnot.
Oh my God. What a
Um,
time to be in college too with all
yeah,
of
it's
COVID.
annoying. It's
But do
annoying, but
you so actually wait, I want to double down on this a sec. This is so interesting. I never knew how old you are, whether you're in college or working, whatever. But like, you have an expertise in parallel that very few have. Like, I'm not just saying this too because he's here, but like Dior is again like top 1% at this point in terms of expertise. And so as parallel grows, if it grows into what we want it to be, this like major sci-fi franchise that happens to power like a world leading trading card game, I mean, you have an expertise there that very few people would ever be able to, I think, luck out
mhm.
in discovering. Does it make you question college at this point, or
I
are
mean,
like yeah.
I'll say this, like, it'd be awesome that I found like a full time position, be like, okay, I don't really have to do this college stuff anymore. Like that'd be cool, but I think I'm due to my parental situation, I'm basically stuck. I'm gonna have to finish up no matter basically
Dude,
what I do.
I'm gonna call your mom after this and have a conversation
I'll tell you
about
this.
the time you
I
wasted today with me talking, and be like, I gotta tell you, Dior, he could be studying, but he's always talking about the cards.
I'll tell you this. I talked to my dad and stuff. I remember when I was like, oh look, like I made like 100 grand or whatever because of like Parallel and other like NFT projects I was like going on, and he was like, okay. He's like, even if you made $10 million, I don't care. You're gonna finish your school. I was like, okay, well,
Yeah,
that
you're so
I'm
close.
kind of stuck. I'm just kind of stuck. So
What uh actually, when you think back about the cards that you ended up buying, or some of the assets that you've bought, what are your favorites? sort of easier question for you. What
Yeah.
have been your favorite releases from Parallel?
So my original card, the one I bought in PS15 during the pre-sale, was Recon. And
Dude, that's such a great card. Yeah,
yeah,
it's just, it draws you
it's
in. It's such a cool
yeah,
looking
it's
card.
just super clean and whatnot, and I really gravitated towards it. Also, because that's the thing, I hate myself to this day, but I paid my tuition for that semester like 2 days before the pre-sale or whatnot, and I just didn't have much money to really drop on, a random NFT project that I had heard
Yeah.
from a guy and whatnot. I was super bullish and like I loved everything about it, but I just didn't have a lot of money to be dumping, especially because I had to, add it. I had to pay gas and whatnot, whatever, all this other stuff, extra stuff. But I mean, it eventually paid off. Of course, you get airdrop the Prime key and all that kind of stuff. But I'd say Recon just for me is almost like nostalgic. So I'd say it's funny to think that I have a nostalgic sense almost with a card with a game that hasn't even come out yet.
It's been
I don't know.
less than a year. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
we were talking what about February. So yeah, it's been just about a year at this point.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but so much has happened since then, and so you you were and I still are a very active member of the Parallel Discord. But tell us more about, like, what are you working on now? Like, what sort of ideas are you working on in terms of helping the Parallel game once it launches to grow, and you know the community in general?
Yeah, so overall, the couple things I have, I am, a contributor with the Paragons DAO. I am working on doing, content in terms of whether it be YouTube, doing like basically heading their YouTube channel as well as Twitch. We're hoping to come, pack drop 3. Hopefully, as many people know, Prime keys get you, one guaranteed pack reservation um, for all of Alpha. So for pack drop 3, the DAO is going to get like 50 or so packs to be able to open. And the idea was hopefully we could have like a cool kind of, launch of the Twitch channel, and have like an opening party. Basically, if we have like 50 packs, I mean that'll be super fun to open on stream, and we could have other people come up on there and be able to open their packs or whatnot. I think it'd be really fun to do. And other than that, I still have my own channel that I keep trying to push out content. And hopefully, my issue right now is that there's not a lot to be able to cover, just because we're I think the biggest thing that I'll be able to cover once the game comes out is actually the game. I'm hoping to actually get like actual gameplay videos pushed out and streams of gameplay and whatnot. I think would be like the best thing. But other than that, also I do have a side project I'm working on, essentially, and it's still in the early stages, but hopefully it'll be really useful come closer to the game. But it'll essentially be just your go-to place for anything regarding Parallel, whether it be guides, databases on cards, just current events, news, everything, basically all in one. And it's not going to just be for Parallel; it'll be for all of Echelon. But
Yeah, dude, when you released, actually, I don't know when you released it because it was long before I got into Parallel. You had just made some like Google sheets of all the different cards, how they fit into different pack drops, their rarity, just lots of details that actually I would recommend people now go to the priming.io. That's a great
mhm,
website
mhm,
to that gives a lot of the information that
yeah,
Dior originally aggregated. But anyways, those resources are so valuable. But this has been a part of an early bootstrapping phase. If anyone here is like new to Parallel, just reminder, all of the cards are NFTs, which is still, it's a new space. Like there's very few trading card games that are live that use NFTs. So there's been a lot of trading volume over the past year. There's I think about 33,000 unique wallets now that hold a Parallel card, and yeah, like the next phase I think of growth, obviously once we get the Prime token live, given the fact that there's this thing called the Prime proposal that recently launched, and there's the Echelon white paper, which is sort of like a governing body and a platform that Parallel will be built on. It's going to be really important that we start to have guides and information resources on how to play the game, which is something I'm excited for you to sort of shine in. Like, and being totally transparent, I'll be learning a lot of that information through you, or at least having you on here to help explain it. And actually, I want to make sure we have time here then to talk about what you can share about what we would expect in terms of playing the game as beginners. What we know about some of those card functions. Just before we do that, though, what would you share about the upcoming Emissary Prime election? Like, what's the purpose of it, and then what information should we be reviewing before we vote on EPs?
Yeah. So things I would say is, first off, if you don't know what Emissary Primes or Echelon is in general, Echelon is decentralized organization that has full control of the Prime token. Parallel or Parallel Studios is just one project of hopefully in the future many projects that'll utilize the Prime token. So they are separate entities. And the Echelon is going to be headed by basically 11 Emissary Primes. You could think of them almost like a board of directors in a sense. They will be making the decision to when to initially distribute the Prime token, and overall the tokenomics of it once it drops. However, once the Prime token drops, that governance is going to be given then mostly to the actual Prime token holders. Okay, so again, what's happening right now, this current week up till this Sunday, is the voting time for Emissary Primes. There's currently about, I think, 25 or so candidates.
Yeah, good point.
25 or so candidates, and there's going to be a total 11 seats. And those who can vote are those with Prime keys. However, I still think even if you don't own a Prime key, I'm going to be mentioning something here. There's going to be discussions throughout this entire week, basically like Twitter Spaces hosted by the Echelon Twitter on Echelon FND, where there'll be just discussions with multiple EP candidates every day throughout this week. Most of them are around, I think, 8 p.m. EST. I'm going to be on Thursday personally. I don't know what day you're on. Are you on the same day?
I think I'm on Thursday as well.
Thursday. Okay, so we're together.
Funny.
Yeah, so we're together. So this is the snapshot page. This is where you would go to vote. And to know where that you could get this link would be, you go on the Echelon Twitter. You would then go to their Discord, and there should be a link to the snapshot there. Also, I have a video kind of explaining all this stuff in a little bit more detail, and I have the link there on my video as well to it all. But again, what I think is important here is even if you don't have a Prime key to vote, I think it's important that you still listen in on these conversations, as you can still give your piece. Like, as someone in the community, like this is what I think, this is what I want to really push for as someone who's basically been the heart of the community from the beginning. Like, make sure you get your voice heard. You don't have to have a Prime key for people to listen to what you have to say. If you have a good idea, then people will listen to the idea. So again, like you want to listen to, if you care about your assets and what's going to become of them, come the next coming months and whatnot, and how Prime is going to work, I recommend you listen out on these things, because these candidates are the people who are going to be determining all the tokenomics and whatnot when it initially launches.
Yeah. So to summarize, like we're voting on candidates that are ultimately going to be making final decisions around tokenomics of gameplay, but tokenomics that also relate back to this like greater Echelon platform. But in the future, so Prime being this token that can be used in game with Parallel, but also as a governing token. Once we transition power from Prime key holders to Prime, like once Prime is basically distributed, folks in the community will still be able to vote then, right? There will be proposals. That's
Yes.
like it and that's why it's important that we get the token, in my opinion. And I think it's probably, I think you basically said it there. I want to see Prime go live sooner, because right now there's only, you can only be like a loud voice in Discord, which this community is really good at listening, I think, within Discord. But I think it's important to get the token out so that people can actually like use it to vote. But that's one of many things that's being debated among a lot of the candidates. And reminder, disclosure, of course, I'm running, Dior's running. There's going to be 11 candidates. I would say almost all of them too are awesome people. So I'll sleep well at night, whoever gets elected. But excited to to see who ultimately gets started on that sort of like council and starts to put like actual decisions into motion. Okay, so the EP election. So a few things here. If you're watching February 16th today at 8 o'clock tonight, just go to the Echelon Foundation. Actually, I'm going to share this. Go to the Twitter account here for the Echelon Prime Foundation, and you'll see the all of these different spaces that are going to be hosted for the next few nights. And then you can use the link here to go to the Echelon website and find the Discord. And in the Discord, there's everything you can imagine. There's dedicated channels to talking with candidates if you want to ask questions. So anyways, this is really, really important to the future of Parallel. If you're holding a Parallel asset, I cannot stress enough getting involved in this. Dior, do you want to start to share your screen? And I'd love to like just learn some of the basics of gameplay, like what you can share about what we know about what the game's going to look like.
For sure. Yeah, let me pull it up here. There we go.
All right.
So I kind of made a little kind of mock little game field here for people to see. It is clear though, right? You can see
it is,
overall?
yeah. It looks great, man. Looks great. This is fun.
So
I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah. So a couple things to note here. There's actually, before I actually get to this, I think what would be also important here real quick is to go to the where is it? Where did I put it? Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So this is kind of like a mock UI, basically. Not necessarily mock, but it's an early rendition of the game board that you could see once the game comes out. A couple things to note here. This down here would be your hand. Okay, this is your hand. This is your enemy's hand. This is also where, for those of you who own card backs, this is kind of what the purpose of card backs are. As you can see right here, you can see the card back of your opponent. Here is actually the play field where your units would be. Down here would be your power bank. Each card has its own energy cost. As you can see, these are really small, but you can see here, there's a 2, 7, 2. It would cost, you have 7 here. It would cost 2 of it for using this card, which is Staff of Shoshana. And this would just be your Paragon. And there's a timer and whatnot. These are your relics. This is your waste. This is your deck. So again, that's just kind of the basics there. So if we were to actually kind of like think about, basic interaction here, actually it's a little bit more complicated interaction. So let's say my turn started here. I would draw a card, and there's something that you do almost every turn, most turns in the beginning. You're going to set a card in. You're going to bank a card. Again, this is your bank right here. I put right here. And what that does is, again, it lets you be able to use your cards because you need energy to be able to use your cards. So, for example, let's say I had just these 3 right here, and I just went and I placed another one. So now I have four energy. Let's say you have Master Poisoner here. Let's say this is in my hand, and then I wanted to play it, for example. Let's say, for example, we don't have the actual energy cost of the card. So again, this is just, just telling you a random number. Let's say it's just 2 energy, right? So I would then basically, I would temporarily, not be able to use these two, right? Again, these don't disappear or anything. I'm just saying this in the sense of, actually, I can do this even better here. If I just almost like tap them like you might in like Magic, whatever. So these are now unusable for the rest of the turn. And then I would be able to actually play the Master Poisoner, right? So here he is on the field. And again, this would be like a 1-2 unit, for example. This is just random numbers, but this is the important part. Here are the effects here. So normally when you play a card, okay, that unit can't attack on its first turn, okay, unless it has a certain keyword. For example, a keyword like Kamui Protector here, it has something called Pacifist, where it can't attack unless it fulfills a certain condition, which it shows on the card there. For example, Kamui Protector's effect is as long as your health is above 10, this unit has Pacifist. If your health is 10 or below, this unit's attack and health values are swapped and it loses Pacifist. So again, like it's 310. If its HP drop below, then it would basically flip to be like, let's say it was 9. If it took 1 damage, it would have 9 attack, 3 HP, which could be a really strong unit. But until it gets actually hit, it's basically just a big wall of 10 HP. Now we look at our other cards here. Solea.
By the way, just in case someone's not familiar with it, what does HP stand for?
Yeah, so HP is basically your health points. So each player starts with, honestly, I don't know why I'm blanking on this. It's either 20 or 30. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't know why I'm blanking on it, to be honest. I think it's 30. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 90% sure it's 30. But yeah, so let's see. You have 30 HP and whatnot. So when you normally play, you could, let's say, for example, if I use Solea like last turn, this turn, I could use her to just attack the Kamui Protector, or I could also just attack the player directly, my opponent directly, and that would be for 2 damage. But if you're wondering, but then couldn't you just keep swinging on your opponent until they die? You could. However, there's certain cards that have a keyword called Defender. What that does is that unit can then kind of move in place of another unit or your opponent's face, basically, to tank that damage for that other unit or your opponent. And that unit would take the damage instead. But here, that's something that's important is I'm going to try to use the actual effects, show you a little combo that you could actually use in this case. Again, like I said, Master Poisoner, I can't use it the same turn that I play it. However, with Solea here, at the end of your turn, if no combat damage was dealt this turn, pick 1 unit you control. That unit gains armed and fights a target enemy unit on the battlefield. If there's no unit to fight, waste this unit. So basically with Solea, you kind of need another unit on the field or else she basically kills herself. But in this case, I have the Master Poisoner. I played him. His effect, while this unit is on the battlefield, all combat damage is lethal. Okay, so again, that means units are wasted by taking any combat damage. So a little basic combo you could do here is that Kamui Protector has 10 HP. Neither of these units, as you can see, like let's say it's 1-2 and Solea is 2-3. They can't really do much to this guy because he's such a meat shield, especially because if I hit him, like just for 1 damage or 2 damage, he's going to be like an 8-3 and whatnot. And that's going to be a big wall to, like, that's going to be a big unit to fight. So what I can do is at the end of my turn, so I don't attack, right? I don't attack with Solea, but at the end of the turn, her effect, I can activate her effect. I can choose 1 unit I control, which is my Master Poisoner here. What that does is it gains armed. What armed does is basically when 2 units fight each other, you attack and the other person's unit attacks as well. So your unit would also take damage. But in this case, armed means you're guaranteed to go first. And if you kill the other person's unit, that unit would take no damage in return. But what's important here is basically what this does is now I can basically use my Master Poisoner the same turn I played it. Because what ends up happening is, let's say I played my Master Poisoner. Next turn, my enemy plays, a different card or whatnot, and they just swing on to my Master Poisoner and he's dead and it's over. There are some stuff that I need to, kind of confirm with the team, but it says all combat damage, lethal and whatnot. what that could mean is that honestly, you could just like attack with Soleil and stuff, and that could do the same effect. But I'm not 100% sure on how they're deciding on that yet, so I haven't confirmed that from the team. But the most clear example here would be, again, Soleil effect at the end of the turn, Master Poisoner. I could then swing with Master Poisoner onto swing, meaning attack, the Kamui Protector. And even though it's just a 1/2 unit, this would then basically just kill both this, well, just that unit really, because again, because it's armed, as long as he kills the unit, the Master Poisoner wouldn't die. Because normally if I swung with the Master Poisoner or just like any unit onto the Kamui Protector, well, any other unit, because this one has pacifist, but in this case, with the Master Poisoner here, just by attacking it, it would instantly kill this unit, even though it's 10 HP, versus my Master Poisoner is just one attack, right? So that's kind of like a quick combo that you can do, and then I would end my turn would end there, and then it'd be my opponent's turn. Again, the Kamui Protector then, like every person that basically has like a waste pile, this would then go into your waste, and then your opponent would then draw a card and then play their turn. So that would kind of be just an example of kind of like how a turn might go in a game of Parallel. And this is Earthen versus Earthen.
A few other like simple questions for you, just for beginners. Do we have any idea like how much time on average like you would have for a turn? Like, how much time do you have to, but before like some decision is forced?
Yeah, so we don't have specific numbers, but I know that on the UI sheet here, this timer shows at 17 seconds. My personal guess would be you probably have around 30 seconds. I think that'd be a fair amount of time. There might be like game modes where, might have more time or whatnot, but I think my personal guess would be 30 seconds, but there's no confirmation from the team on, specific, numbers like that yet.
One thing we haven't talked about today, but we know will come is, a part of having a tokenized community is that the Prime token can then be used to award winners within tournaments. So there's going to be tournament play, and in the world of Parallel Prime, I will be the token I think you'll primarily see, unless I guess something else gets proposed in the future. So that'll be cool to see that happen, like Prime being awarded to those winners, and then there being all sorts of syncs or opportunities for them to be able to use and spend those tokens in the future.
Yeah, so I think that's what's so interesting about like the whole P2E genre. And I think the thing that people kind of almost underestimate is the fact that a lot of the P2E games that are coming out, the past year and this year and whatnot, are really just trying to say, hey, we're just trying to make a game so we can basically force sell you NFTs. That's it. Like that's really the idea there, is how can we just like make a utility so that we can sell you a bunch of NFTs and we can make out with a bunch of money, and we just kind of just keep this really basic shitty game alive for maybe a year, and then we can leave and be retired. I think the big thing that Parallel does really well is that it found a genre of game that actual like NFTs can bring an actual use, or like true utility, or actually improves the model. I think that's the big thing. The use of NFTs improves the model of an online trading card game. Because, for example, for those of you, like who've played like Hearthstone or Magic Online, you can't do much with your cards after they're on your account. Some people might sell their accounts, but those, your account sells for a fraction of what you probably spent on it in the first place. But I think that, it's really interesting to see how I'm really curious to see how the overall economy of the Prime token is going to work with all the syncs and whatnot, and seeing how, because there's going to be a difference between somebody who comes in from like the NFT space and they have a lot of money to throw with like Prime and whatnot, and they have NFT cards, versus I really want to see what's the experience going to be like for someone who just completely, from the web 2 space, outside, just comes into Parallel, that just because they like to play card games. They try it
Right,
out.
right.
How much prime are they going to be getting? Is it going to be enough to sustain being able to maybe get into tournaments? Is it going to be enough to do all the important things that you might want to do within the parallel ecosystem?
And actually,
Yeah.
a follow up to that, then, and this is probably a good question for us to end on. So, what has been planned or proposed in the Prime proposal in terms of card population management? Like, if I'm new and I'm coming into this game, there's going to be those that have been here for a while that were collecting cards that could have gone up a lot in value just because they're rare and whatever collectors want to just simply hoard them. But there's been a lot of work and thought that's gone into ensuring that there can be cards that are affordable so that you can easily
Mhm.
build a deck and enjoy playing the game.
Yeah, so the current proposed solution is something called card lineage. Essentially, what that system is while you play with your cards in game, they'll accrue like XP. Basically, they'll accrue experience points, and they'll like level up in a certain sense, not in terms of their stats or whatnot. Again, like nothing can change the actual functions of the cards or their stats, but essentially what that does is you can use that XP, those levels, plus a certain prime fee to then basically spawn in uh, wider edition uh, card version. So for example, if I had a first edition rare card, let's say it's out of 2000 edition, and I leveled it up to a certain point, I paid the prime fee, I made another version of the card. Let's say it's like a one out of 20,000, let's say, or one out of 10,000. And there are chances of even like making glitched versions where who knows, they're facing the other way, right? Like just like you have your random NFTs that do that stuff too. So
Yeah.
things like that are possible. And what that does is two things. One, it makes for people who want to still play with NFT cards, be able to actually play with them without having to spend, you know, stupid amounts of money for one single
Yeah.
card, right?
Yeah.
Um, because we know with other games, other card games, like if you play Magic like in person or whatnot, commons, like most commons are literally worth less than a cent, right? People sell 1,000 of them for $10 if they can even find someone to buy it off them. But that solves that part. Also, the big thing is also you're almost putting the card economy in the hands of the players at that point, because the other solution was card continuum, where the team themselves artificially basically just put out a certain number of edition size cards depending on how big the player base is. But this way, the actual players themselves can kind of control how how much of certain cards push out. And what that also does is, let's say for example you have a deck that's really meta, like everyone's playing this specific deck. What that means is those cards are going to level up a lot, meaning that they can probably make a lot more additions of those cards, meaning that somebody who can't afford much could probably still play a meta deck with NFT cards for pretty very cheap price, because so many people are able to spawn the cards in. But also to know, again, you don't need to spend even a dime to play Parallel. There will be non-NFT versions that anyone can pick up to play, and I think that's really important to reiterate that, again, don't need to spend a dime to play. It's just if you are using the NFT cards, you then get an increased prime reward by playing.
Dude, you're so good at explaining all of this. This has been an honor to get to like talk with you more. Like I've learned so much, and I selfishly want to do this way more often. The like you even talking through just some of the examples of a turn. Like I'd love to do this more often, because it's just I think it could be really helpful to those that are just totally new to trading card games, but also
Yeah.
those that want to geek out on what's coming with Parallel. So just thanks so much. And the card lineage that's been proposed. I mean that whole system. There's so many details in the Prime proposal that most are gonna skip over, but this is part of the reason that I think we're all so excited to be a part of Parallel, because we really feel like there's been a lot of thought and intention put into these details. Like and a lot of this too is there are some like truly novel mechanics that are being implemented with Parallel. It's not your copy paste of a bunch of stuff that worked in other NFT or crypto projects. Like I really feel like we're designing for the best game that happens to benefit from NFTs.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Again, like like I was saying before, the big thing that separates this project from other P2E games that are just trying to force shill you their NFTs is like, look, the first step was what game, what style of game can we actually introduce NFTs to that improve the actual player's experience instead of just making it more complicated or just completely screwing them over. So, and I think that the team figured exactly what needed to be done, and they keep delivering time and time again. So, I'm really looking forward to the whole next year, and hopefully, we get to see gameplay. Hopefully by the end of this year or beginning of next year, we'll hopefully be seeing a beta come out, for people to actually be able to sit down and play. But again, that's nothing official or anything. So just
and then if they want to stay updated on this, like obviously check out parallel.life, go explore Parallel, the game, get into their Discord, search Dior on YouTube. He's got a great channel. He does weekly updates, and then I'm going to selfishly steal him for more Prime Talks episodes. And then reminder that the EP elections, if you hold a Prime key, make sure you participate in that. And then lastly, you can get excited for Pack Drop 3, PD3 on February 26th. That's, I think, happening at 5 p.m. Eastern, and it's on a Saturday. So hopefully that'll make it easy for everybody to be able to participate. But dude, I'll end the broadcast here. Just thanks so much for your time, man. This is so much fun, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate it. Anytime, honestly, like I try to keep my schedule overall flexible, even though I'm like in school and whatnot. I basically just grind that shit as fast as I can, so I can do all this other stuff instead.
I'm gonna have you skipping tests and all sorts of stuff just for this. No, this is awesome. Also, everyone you can follow Dior on Twitter. Talk to him in the Parallel or Paragons Discords. He's everywhere.
If anyone to that. Yeah, if anyone basically has any question regarding anything Parallel or Echelon related, you can just feel free to DM me. I'll answer basically any question you have. Like
that's awesome, man.
If I can't answer it, nobody else can. So that's what I like to say.
Awesome. Well, and also, hey, if y'all enjoyed this, please, you can subscribe at DeFiDad.com and watch more episodes of Prime Talks. And then if you're whether you're building a trading card game or you're building the next great DeFi project, whatever it is, as long as it's Web3, get in touch with me and my team at fourthrevolution.capital. So thanks so much, Dior. I'll end the broadcast here. So bye, everyone.